Alright there, it's your old mate Yoki here, welcoming you back to another episode of ChatGPT Plays. Tell me why. Where ChatGPT makes all the decisions in the game. Before we begin ChatGPT, why don't you give the viewers a brief overview of what's happened so far?
Alright, so far in Tell Me Why, Alyson and Tyler Ronan have returned to their childhood home in Delos Crossing, Alaska, to sort through their mother, Marianne's, belongings and prepare the house for sale. They've been uncovering various items that bring back memories, some of which have started to challenge their understanding of the night their mother died, a traumatic event that led to Tyler being sent away to a juvenile center. As they delved deeper, they've discovered objects like a book about raising transgender children and a suspicious pamphlet from a conversion therapy advocate, which suggest Marianne might have been struggling with how to support Tyler's gender identity. They've also encountered memories that hint they might have planned to mislead investigators on the night of their mother's death. The twins have met with various townspeople, including Tessa, a close friend of their mother, who appears to be hiding something about the past. Their interactions have revealed old wounds and left some questions about Tessa's and their mother's relationship, especially regarding the days leading up to Marianne's death. Recently, they visited the local police station, hoping to find more answers by accessing their mother's police files, and spoke to Chief Brown, who was involved in the case and is also Alyson's adoptive father. Their investigation is showing that the truth about their past and their mother's death is complex, and they are struggling to reconcile their memories with the new information they are uncovering.
This is going to be a short episode that's all cutscene. I'm going to get ChatGPT to give its opinion at the end. If I'd gone on any longer, I think it would have gone on too far for one video. So this may be one that you want to skip to just the end of. In the meantime, have a great day.
Stop! Alyson! Alyson! Manhunter. Please, Mom. I'm sorry I cut my hair. I won't do it again. I'm going to kill you! No. Please. Please. Mom. Mom, please. No, don't do this. Alyson. This isn't... What? Alyson? I killed her. I killed her. Alyson, we need to call for help. I killed her. No, you didn't. I killed her. And when they come, that's what we're gonna tell them. No, no. Yes. We look out for each other. That's what goblins do. And brothers and sisters. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay.
So what now?
Well, he's obviously not going to give us the truth. So I say we go get it ourselves.
Wait, you're not seriously thinking of breaking and entering a police archive?
Go big or go home.
Once upon a time, in a deep and ancient forest, there lived a pair of crafty goblins.
The crafty goblins did everything together. Until one day, when darkness overwhelmed the big wooden house in which they lived.
Blamed for the darkness, Brother Goblin was forced to leave the forest, while his sister had to stay behind.
"10 years later, they were finally reunited, and together, they decided to confront the darkness in the big wooden house.
Though they sought the help of their friends in the forest, they found that no one wanted to delve into the long-gone past.
This is how the goblins found themselves alone in the woods, trying to discover why darkness had submerged the big wooden house.
Tomorrow we should play Compass and North Star in the woods.
Be sure to wear your hat then.
You be sure to wear your hat.
All right, who wants ice cream?
Me!
Eat up. Without a word, she went out and buried the tiara in the ground beneath the sapling. And as the final scoop of dirt fell, the tiara felt truly gone, and with it, the final link to her old self. She could only go forward and find a new place for herself in this world, where she was no longer truly a princess in a tiara and a beautiful gown, but a wan woman, alone in a deep and ancient wood. And that was how the princess lost her most precious treasure, and her title.
I don't like that story. There were no goblins, and it was depressing.
We won't read it again.
I love you, Mom.
Not me. Just kidding. Love you, Mom.
Mwah. I love you too. Sleep well and dream, my doves.
Ollie? Ollie? What a waste.
Alyson! Ollie! Alyson, help! for help. Alyson. I killed Mom. I killed her.
Alright, ChatGPT. We're going to round out with some questions about the story so far to get your view on things. Let's start with something light. The story about Tyler and Alyson's life after that night featured 3 animals turning to walk away from them. Based on the story so far, and how the animals have been represented in this and the other stories they've seen from the book, do any of them resemble any people Tyler and Alyson have met?
The twins have met with various townspeople, including Tessa, and in the storybook analogy from Tell Me Why, the 3 animals that walk away could symbolically represent people in Tyler and Alyson's life who distanced themselves or didn't fully support them after the traumatic events of their childhood. Here's how these animals could correspond to people they've encountered. The big frog. This character could represent Tessa, who appears supportive on the surface but may have distanced herself or even contributed to some of the challenges the siblings faced, particularly in regards to their understanding of their mother's actions and intentions. The moose. This could symbolize Chief Brown, Eddie, who took on a guardian role but also made decisions that separated the siblings. His actions, though well-intentioned, led to long-term consequences for Tyler and Alyson, contributing to their sense of isolation and unresolved issues. The old bear. This character might represent someone like Greg's or another community member who was part of their lives but not actively supportive or impactful in a positive sense after the incident. The bear's characterization as someone who should be strong and protective but instead walks away could mirror how certain adults in their lives didn't provide the support or intervention needed during crucial moments. These symbolic representations suggest a broader commentary on how the community and close individuals, despite possibly good intentions, failed to adequately support the siblings through their most challenging times, leading to a sense of abandonment and unresolved trauma that they are only now beginning to confront and understand.
Then there's a story that didn't involve the goblins, the one just of the princess. Who might the princess be? Does this occur before she met the goblins and that's why they're not in it? And if so, what might we deduce from what the tiara might be and why she's no longer a princess?
The story of the princess without her tiara in Tell Me Why could be a metaphorical representation of Marianne's life before the twins, or her younger, more idealistic self before becoming overwhelmed by the realities and challenges of her life. The princess in the story might be Marianne herself, reflecting her journey from a hopeful, perhaps more naive state, princess in a tiara and a beautiful gown, to a more burdened, isolated existence, a wan woman, alone in a deep and ancient wood. The tiara, symbolizing her most precious treasure, could represent several things: her dreams or aspirations that she felt she had to bury as she faced the harsh realities of single motherhood and the societal judgments surrounding her unconventional life choices. Her identity or sense of self-worth, which she felt was lost or had to be suppressed as she dealt with her life's challenges, including her struggle with mental health and isolation from the community. The fact that this story occurs without the goblins, Tyler and Alyson, suggests it might relate to a time before they were born or when they were very young, indicating a period when Marianne felt she had to transform, possibly due to the pressures and responsibilities of raising children on her own under difficult circumstances. From a real-world perspective, this narrative reflects the struggles many face when they feel they must put aside their own identities or desires to meet external expectations or to cope with life's hardships. It's a poignant commentary on the loss of self that can occur in the face of life's overwhelming demands, particularly for single parents or those who feel marginalized by their community. Overall, this story within the game serves as a deeper look into Marianne's character, her internal conflicts, and perhaps foreshadows the themes of identity and transformation that are central to both her life and the lives of her children, Tyler and Alyson.
And finally, what about the big secret that's just been revealed about that night and the actions of young Tyler and young Alyson? What do you think of the decisions that went into that? Do you think young Tyler interpreted what was happening with Marianne correctly? And what about the impact both on the views of society around them, to the kids, the life situation of the kids, and the mental state of the kids after the event?
The big secret revealed about that night, that young Alyson was the one who actually struck Marianne, and young Tyler took the blame to protect her, is a critical turning point in understanding the dynamics and psychological underpinnings of Tyler and Alyson's relationship. The decision to lie about who was responsible for Marianne's death, while profoundly impactful, speaks volumes about the protective instincts and bond between the siblings. 1. Young Tyler's decision and interpretation. Young Tyler's decision to take the blame for Marianne's death appears to be a quick, protective reflex aimed at shielding his sister from legal and social repercussions. This action likely stemmed from a combination of his protective nature and perhaps a misunderstanding of the full gravity of the consequences. Tyler's interpretation of Marianne's actions that night, as intending to kill him, could have been influenced by the high stress and traumatic nature of the encounter. Whether or not Marianne truly intended harm might be more complex. Her mental state and past behaviors suggest a mix of protective and possibly confused intentions. 2. Impact on society and perception. The lie about that night would have drastically shaped how their community viewed Tyler and Alyson. By assuming Tyler was the aggressor, the community may have seen him as more unstable or dangerous, justifying his subsequent placement in a juvenile facility. This perception could reinforce societal stigmas around mental health and trauma, particularly the misunderstanding and misrepresentation of individuals who have experienced such deep personal crises. 3. Impact on Tyler and Alyson's mental state. For Tyler, taking the blame meant carrying a heavy burden that fundamentally shaped his identity and life path. This responsibility, combined with societal rejection and the struggle with his gender identity, would have compounded his challenges, leading to a complex internal battle with guilt, shame, and isolation. For Alyson, although initially protected from immediate consequences, the guilt of letting her brother take the blame and the secret they both carried would have deeply affected her psychological well-being, contributing to ongoing guilt and possibly feelings of unworthiness or anxiety. The actions of that night, driven by a split-second decision, led to years of hidden truths that shaped both Tyler and Alyson's lives in profound ways. This scenario highlights the complex ways in which trauma and protective instincts can intertwine, leading individuals to make life-altering decisions under extreme duress. The unfolding of these events in the game offers a poignant exploration of family loyalty, the long-term effects of trauma, and the painful journey towards healing and understanding. In summary, the revelation adds a layer of complexity to the narrative, emphasizing themes of sacrifice, secrecy, and the long shadow trauma casts on personal development and familial relationships. It sets the stage for deeper exploration of these themes as Tyler and Alyson continue to confront their past and seek closure.
It seems that Marianne was open about trying to understand Tyler's transgender identity, which would mean the community also knew about it. Do you think this would have any impact on the fact that there doesn't seem to have been a reasonable investigation conducted before assuming that Tyler was guilty and not just covering for his sister? For instance, we haven't heard that there was a search for the murder weapon, a search for any DNA evidence, or anything else that would actually prove he was innocent.
The lack of a thorough investigation into Marianne's death and the quick assumption of Tyler's guilt could indeed be influenced by societal biases, particularly regarding his transgender identity. The scenario raises several potential issues. Impact of Tyler's transgender identity, bias and prejudice. In many communities, especially smaller or more conservative ones, transgender individuals can face significant prejudice. This bias could lead to a less rigorous defense from the community and authorities, who might subconsciously, or overtly, devalue Tyler's rights or the veracity of his claims due to discomfort or disapproval of his gender identity. Misinterpretation of behavior. Tyler's actions and demeanor might have been misinterpreted through a lens of prejudice. For instance, his decision to take responsibility might have been seen not as an act of sibling protection but as confirmation of assumed instability or aggression, stereotypes often unfairly associated with transgender individuals. Community dynamics and law enforcement, small-town dynamics. In small communities like Delos Crossing, personal relationships and reputations can heavily influence law enforcement actions. If the community held biased views about transgender individuals, these attitudes could seep into the investigation, affecting its thoroughness and objectivity. Lack of resources. Smaller police departments might lack the resources or expertise to conduct a thorough investigation, leading to an over-reliance on surface-level evidence and quick resolutions. Legal and protective concerns. Protective custody versus punishment. Eddie's role and the court's decision might have been influenced by a misguided attempt to protect Tyler from backlash or harm due to his identity. However, this protective intent, if present, backfired, isolating him during a critical period and potentially compounding his trauma. Assumption of guilt. The quick assumption of Tyler's guilt without substantial evidence might reflect a systemic failure to provide the same level of diligence that would be expected in other cases. This could be due to the biases mentioned, but also a general inadequacy in handling cases involving minors and complex family dynamics. The absence of a proper investigation and the immediate assumption of Tyler's guilt without exploring other possibilities, like the self-defense scenario or Alyson's role, indicate significant flaws in the community's and the legal system's response to the incident. This situation underscores the need for law enforcement to operate without prejudice, ensuring that all individuals, regardless of background or identity, receive a fair and thorough investigation. The impact of Tyler's transgender identity, while not the sole factor, likely exacerbated the challenges he faced, highlighting the intersection of justice, social norms, and individual rights within small community settings.
Well, thank you for the deeply considered discussion of transgender identity, prejudices, and so forth in society. All that remains now is to say good night to the viewers.
So it's good night from me.
And it's good night from her. Good night.